Hey, you did it. You made it back to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague. You can find us at playfulhumans.com. And anywhere you're watching or listening to this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a comment or review. Make a suggestion for a future guest. We would love to hear it because we found another awesome one. It's David Letterfly, and I'm going to go with Knoderer. I forgot to ask you how to say your last name, David, but it's at letterfly.com. He's the guru of having fun. We're going to talk about circus, painting, traveling the world, writing, speaking, and having all kinds of fun being a playful human. So I'm excited to jump into it. What we got going on? Here we go. We like to start with the joke of the week. The joke of the week this week is brought to you by beekeeping. I went to buy some new bees. I was going to get 12 bees, and the guy gave me 13. It was a freebie. Okay, the official joke of the week is brought to you by, that was brought to you by beekeeping. The official joke of the week is, why did the farmer play classical music to his chickens? They kept chanting for Bach. Bach. Okay, can you do better than that, David?
Well, most people repeat jokes that they've already heard. I, on the other hand, have invented a joke that nobody's ever heard of before. It's actually a totally original joke that I'd be happy to tell with you right now.
Hit us.
Okay, I went to the pedestrian church. There was no parking lot.
I suppose not, if everybody walked. That was great. Okay, that'll get us started in the right mood. Let's get started with hearing a little bit more about you and what you've done building a playful life for yourself. You've actually written a book about it, Hit the Road and Thrive, but this started in the circus? Is that it?
Well, my playful life started when I was a kid. I actually was born a musician because when I was 6 months old, I was playing on the linoleum.
Nice.
And I just have been playing my whole life. I just like having fun. I am intensely creative. I became an artist, and I was already on the creative artistic path when I was a little kid. So I've always been on the lookout for ways of not only having fun, but making things. I just love making things, whether it's musically or artistically or any number of things. So it's just I think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Like a curiosity on the lookout kind of a thing.
That's the way I've always been too, and I think yours is a little bit different with the curiosity. I like that take. I want to ask you more about that. But for me, it was really about sort of being that natural child and not letting go of it, and being your true self. And as much as you can express that, a lot of people I think give up on artwork and painting because they get to some teenage year and somebody says you're not good at it, or it's not going to impress girls because it doesn't look good or something, and you quit doing it. And I try to keep doing the things that make me happy regardless of what other people think. So tell us about your curiosity and where that took you after school and your career.
I think part of it was I refused to listen to the kind of reason that was attempting to introduce me to something that was practical. Because I wasn't necessarily interested in being practical. And actually, I was imprinted with my dad's love for the circus, even though I doubt if he ever intended for me to actually become involved with that. But by the frustrating teenage years, I ended up figuring out, hey, I ought to go join the circus. And it was sort of like an intuitive hunch that I had inside, and I didn't ignore it. I went ahead, I followed that hunch, and I launched myself out into the world as a 16-year-old with my set of drums and my set of paintbrushes.
Wow.
And I went out to the circus and I did what I could to make the circus more fun.
Well, I feel like there's some interesting things there because I did that in radio. I went out and I was like, I want to be cool. I want to be on the radio. I'm going to make my way. And I'm just going to start with a really crappy minimum wage hourly, overnight job on the weekends or something and work my way into something. I'm interested to hear about you. Is the circus serious? Is it hard work? And did you have to make it more fun, or did you have to kind of find your way to a niche or making money with it?
It is certainly a bunch of hard work. Way back when I started, back in the 70s, in 1970, the tented circus that I was on moved every day. So that meant every morning the tents all went up and everybody got set up and ready to give 2 shows. And as soon as that last show was over, everything got torn back down and loaded on the trucks, and we headed towards the next town. So it was a bunch of hard work, but it was also rewarding because there was an ongoing a sense of fulfillment as the result of that audience receiving the payoff of all of that hard work that we were involved in doing ongoingly. And there were people that admired what we were doing and even envied what we were doing. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then,
what role did you find first, and where did you end up in the circus?
My career, I guess you'd call it, with the circus kind of evolved. I started as a drummer and a painter, like I already mentioned, and then I was in the right place at the right time, and I fell right into a lucrative position with the circus, and that was operating the sideshow on a little circus. And the fortunate thing was the little circus started growing and growing and growing, and the next thing you know, I was managing a pretty impressive lineup of animals and attractions in the sideshow, and I had 2 men working for me. So as a teenager, I landed right into a lucrative position, and then in my intention of becoming an even more and more valuable circus guy, I started investing that money. And the next thing you know, I had a 6-pony Liberty Act and I was performing in the show. And then,
wow.
and I fell right into becoming passionate and interested with horses, and started developing my skills as not only a rider, but especially as a horse trainer. And the next thing you know, I had, in the course of 30 years, I made 3 dancing horses.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and definitely. So,
tell me about the painting part of it, because I also saw the work on your website, letterfly.com, that you do a lot of like motorcycle pinstriping and automobile detailing and stuff. And you already mentioned you started painting early. Was that evolving in the circus too? Did you have to paint like signs or decorations and stuff for the circus, or how did you get into the automobile painting?
Of course, yeah. Actually, before I ever played the drums for the first time, I actually lettered a ticket box. So my career path, I suppose, had been predestined. And whenever I got involved with horses, and see, here's what I credit the horses for making me into an incredible sign painter, because they kept eating. So that meant I had to keep earning in order to keep feeding them.
Yeah, for sure.
And the sign painting trade was like the perfect trade way back in those days, because I could, wherever I was, any place in the country, I could find work. There was always somebody that wanted a sign painted on something. And that evolved, because there again, because of my playful attitude, I wasn't simply satisfied with just doing a contemporary sign. I wanted to do something that had some fancy features, and so it was animated and it was interesting, and something that would, I guess I was perhaps combining my passion as an entertainer with developing my skills as a sign
Yeah,
painter.
capturing their attention. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And so, and having fun doing it. And over the years, that career evolved. As you may be aware, the signs aren't painted by hand anymore. That all went away when the computer showed up in the late 80s. And there again, I was in the right place at the right time, and I discovered a huge market for putting murals on motorhomes with the airbrush. And that was my main
Oh,
gig for 20 years. And then technology kept growing and growing, and that took, well, as soon as they started producing printed digital wraps and
yeah. I
and
actually did that for a while.
computer generated uh,
Vehicle
paint,
wraps. Yeah.
paint mask systems, that just took all of the handwork out of doing all of that kind of stuff. So I had to evolve again, and I evolved into a motorcycle pinstriper, lettering man, and pictorial painter. So I'm still doing things the old-fashioned way by hand with paint. So I'm kind of a dinosaur, but I found myself a nice niche that gives me the opportunity to live an interesting life while I'm doing this kind of stuff. I have a route today. I have a route of Harley Davidson stores that takes me between Chicago and Philadelphia, my home in Florida, and then out to Galveston, Texas. And I just love every minute of it. I'm in Augusta, Georgia now. I'll be in Atlanta for the next 2 weeks.
That brings up a whole nother set of questions, but we have Gail's Harley Davidson here in Kansas City. Have you been to Gail's?
Yeah, I sure have. I've been to Gail's years ago. I like Gail. She's a nice lady.
Yeah, super fun.
And
Advertises a ton on the radio and with the Chiefs and stuff too.
Plus,
So I get to know her.
she's got another store in St. Louis I've been to too. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So I love what you're saying there, because I think there is a market now as like computers and AI even start taking over writing jobs and other types of creative and design and stock photography and all kinds of stuff that it can do now. I think there is still a market for people doing it old school, or people with real talent and creativity. So can you talk a little bit about that, of maybe what the difference between somebody that paints by hand and something that's, designed on a computer, and why you think that there's still value in that?
It's like comparing apples to oranges. Is there value in an apple? Well, of course there is, and it's completely different from what the computer generates. I guess it would be the word that you would say. And the value of using someone who has taken their lifetime to develop the ability to not only visualize while I'm interviewing my customer to find out what it is that is going to best satisfy their request for something artistic on their motorcycle or on their guitar or their cake mixer or their prosthetic leg or whatever it is they want me to decorate, is cerebral. And it's also I'm using reference to all of that experience that I've had in the past. And one of the things that I keep uppermost in my mind is recalling what it was that made other customers happy, because that's certainly the goal, is to make motorcycling more fun as the result of creating a one-of-a-kind personal piece of artwork for the customer that actually it raises the level of pride and ownership for the motorcycle owner, in addition.
And value a lot too, right? I think to me the value is the authenticity and that one of a kindness, that if you just have the same printed graphics as everybody else, or you buy something stock off of a website, it doesn't have that authenticity and originality that creates value and a unique voice and impression for people when they see it. That's really cool.
Correct. Yeah. Plus, it's a link to something that's not only timeless, but it's very, very human. It has that human element that doesn't show up in the computer generated things that people just
There's been studies about that in Japan and other places, that it's the imperfections that actually make things beautiful, not the perfection of the computer design stuff. And when you see that touch of humanity in it, that's where you get that emotional connection to artwork. And I like that too. Yeah. Plus, I think I'll also just throw in my personal opinion here that AI is pulling from existing knowledge. And so if we don't have new artists creating stuff, we just start getting copies of copies of copies, and it starts degrading like a photocopy machine would. And so we need people out there writing, speaking, painting, creating in a way that is original. Otherwise, we're not advancing society. We're just repeating copies of older stuff. So that's cool.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you about the travel here too. Did you ever settle down, or have you just from the circus enjoyed the life of living on the road? And tell us about that.
That's interesting that you would say that, because as a teenager, as I've already mentioned, I turned my back on home and hit the road and love it, and I still do. Now, there was a point about 40 years ago where I had the thought that, wow, maybe I should have a home. And I actually went to an area of the country that I frequented probably the most, with the intention of becoming a contemporary sign painter and becoming the best one in the whole town.
Right.
And that actually coincided with the computer showing up on the scene. So even though it was my intention to move into a town and stay there, apparently some other divine plan for my life, because it wasn't just a couple of years later that I found an opportunity, and because I knew what to do out on the road in order to stay in front of the clientele, I had to travel. I knew how to travel. And as the result of an extensive amount of travel, when I was chasing motorhomes, I was on the road solid for 9 years in a row.
Wow.
And that gave me the ability to establish my reputation in that industry. And that attracted the attention of a man who had the largest dealership in the country, which was in Tampa, Florida. And he made it attractive for me to come there. And as the result of taking advantage of that opportunity, I have a home today. I bought my home in Plant City, Florida 25 years ago. So do I have a home? Yes, I have a home. But am I on the road? Yes, I'm on the road. I'm on the road 7 months of the year, and I'm at my home 5 months of the year, because I love being on the road. It's just,
tell us why, and tell us maybe what people don't know. If they've only had a home and they've never traveled for extended periods of time, what do you feel like they're missing, or maybe what they don't know about that kind of life?
I think it's more of a not knowing, because I get that a lot. People will say, oh, you're here in Atlanta. Where's your home? Oh, your home is in Florida. Oh, as soon as you get done here, you're going to go back to your home. No, I'm going to go to the next Harley Davidson store. So a lot of people just don't get it. So I think that it's more of a not knowing. And that's the real reason why I wrote the book that I wrote, because there is a mentality, not only for maintaining a playful attitude, a creative, observant, curious attitude like that of a child, but also what it takes to constantly to develop an appetite and the ability to constantly put yourself in a new situation, embrace immediately, like improv, just ongoingly, grab the gusto and go, where the human inclination is to fear something that we are not familiar with. Yeah. So part of what it takes to have the ability to grasp for everything, to maximize your ability to have a nice playful life that you love, has to do with overcoming some of those instinctive things that are part of us in order to have the ability to stand at the threshold of something brand new and step fearlessly forward into the unknown.
I love that. Beautifully said. And for me, it's one of those ironic backwards things in life that you think having security and staying home is safer. But when you're out on the road, you're becoming more resilient, and resiliency is actually what's safer in life long term, because nothing's going to stay the same. Everything's going to change, and you don't have any choice about that. So it's actually safer to build your resiliency by overcoming these challenges than it is to try to fight against this inevitable change.
That's exactly right. And it's in addition to responding with a fight attitude, another dichotomy is to embrace through the what's the word, of surrender.
Oh yeah.
Of a surrender, an attitude of, that would be called a paradigm of surrender, which is another counterintuitive way of moving forward.
I love that, because it's all what we talk about here on this podcast about playfulness and the improvisation of life. It really is a unique and fun skill set that you have to surrender to. One of the hardest things about keeping this podcast going is to not push and to not stress and work at it. And so they're just understanding that difference between activity and progress, but not grinding and pushing and trying to make it something that it is not. Allowing to surrender to that and let it be what it is the hardest part.
Definitely, because there are things that actually interfere with living a nice, playful life that are part of our personal and emotional and behavioral selves that can all be upgraded. Once we take them out, look at them for the way that they really are, and then consider, just like the playful curiosity, and consider there must be another way of interacting with this dynamic. And that's how we not only maintain but develop a playful attitude.
So I want to ask you really quick about the book, and then we'll play a game. But Hit the Road and Thrive, people can find at letterfly.com on the website. But I love this idea. We've already talked about the thriving part there. Maybe hit us with some tips about hitting the road. What are people going to find in the book, and what do you think are maybe some quick tips for if we really wanted to go have an adventure this year?
Well, the Hit the Road, what you'll find in the contents of Hit the Road and Thrive are 7 secrets for living the life of your dreams. And only part of it has to do with the physical part, whether you're going to hitchhike or travel or fly or have an RV or any conveyance, and then how you're going to go about, adopting a sensible physical way of going about thriving out there on the road. And then there are other parts that are part business, and it's part mental and emotional, like we've already touched on a little bit here and there. And then there are the typical things that produce the reluctance. And once we become in contact with what it is that produces our reluctance, and we learn that we can overcome it, then all of a sudden we have the choice. And then there are other things like we touched on earlier. What about the stuff I didn't know that I didn't know? And that's really probably the most value that you'll find in the content of the book is are those things, because it's just like people who have lived a contemporary life. They bought the idea that in order to be happy, I have to have a brand new car and a shiny, sparkly watch and a trophy wife and all of these other things. We've bought into these ideas, and for many people, they over time it doesn't produce the happiness and the joy and the fun that we thought we were going to get as the payoff. And so the other part of the book that you'll find valuable is the mental obstacles that we have that we can overcome. And then all of a sudden, and I even introduce the reader to the service mentality. Whenever we become dedicated to finding ways of being a blessing to everyone around us as we go through our day, especially with the use of play, then all of a sudden, not only do we have a fulfilling life, but the payoff is the joy that radiates from our heart as the result of lifting the people up around us.
Man, you did it today. I am really glad we got the chance to have this conversation, but we have one more piece of business to attend to. Are you ready to play a game?
It's game time.
All right, here we go. I picked some location-based questions for you since you're a traveler. These are Survey Says. We surveyed 100 people. The top answers are on the card. If you get one of the top answers and 2 out of 3, you win the game. Name a kind of place where you see people constantly checking the time.
A railroad station.
Train stations, number 2, 19 points for that. Work, number 1. Airport, hospital, bus stop, or church and school also made it on the list.
If we had more time, I would expand on the reason why time is not part of my work situation.
Ooh, I love that. Give me 60 seconds. Go for it.
One of the things that I learned right off the bat with the circus was that the wristwatch was not needed on the circus. We entered into a routine every day. The stakes went in the ground in the morning. The flag went up when it was lunchtime. The band started playing when it was showtime, and it was never necessary to wear a watch. So
I love that.
Being in the workplace and watching the clock has never been part of my reality.
I think it's so awesome. I've tried to get rid of it. I had to take off the Fitbit that was measuring my steps and the alarms and the beeps and stuff that were distracting me from my best work too. Name a place where in your home that you have never cleaned under. This is an interesting one for you, but you did mention you do have a home. What have you never cleaned under?
I never cleaned under. Probably the bed. That's a tough one.
The bed is up there. Number 4, 10 points for that one. Stove, refrigerator, couch, and washing machine.
Oh, I got the refrigerator. I got those other things cleaned.
Last one. This one I feel like you can nail because you've been in so many public places over the years. Where would you see parents disciplining their children?
Their children? Probably in a restaurant.
Restaurant got on there too. Number 4 with 8 points. Store, mall, park, or school, playground up there on the top answers as well. You got all 3. That means you get a free 30-second commercial here. So, I forgot to give you the applause too. Right? Yes, you win. Here we go. So how can you help us, or how can we help you here? Final thoughts?
Well, I'm really here to help others because I've already found a life that I love. And I want other people to have a life that they love. So I've actually got the book, Hit the Road and Thrive, poised and ready to give away absolutely free on my author website. You can actually get the ebook download for free. And the author website is daveletterfly.com. And go to my website, read about the book. You put in your email address and your first name and submit that. And then in your inbox, you will receive an email that has the Word document of the entire book manuscript for you to enjoy. And I want everybody to, even if you never plan on getting off your couch, you will enjoy the stories and the easy to follow along lessons that are inside this book. And it will expand your relationship with your surroundings and hopefully introduce you to a way of living a life that is more fun.
That's right. The guru of having fun. Check it out at daveletterfly.com. I'm going to go do that. And I'm excited you said that because I'm going to do the same thing with my book. I'm writing a Playful Humans book, and I'm going to do the PDF and the Kindle version for free. And, you know, paperback costs money, so obviously we got to charge for that. But I want to spread this message, and I'm glad that you're on the team fighting the good fight here, too, to help people have more fun. If you want to rediscover the power of play, go to playfulhumans.com, and you can take a playfulness quiz, listen to other podcast episodes like this, and hopefully rediscover some ways to live a better life, have more fun out there. See you next time. Bye, everybody.
Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine.